Golf is changing. I love it. I'm so excited by today's review, and I hope this is the way we're going to keep trying to go with golf clubs. Oh yeah, that could be good. Don't miss the green though, because I won't be able to show you this new amazing club. Still give myself that one. So today, Ping have decided that they're going to release the chipR. So chipR, and it is exactly that. Go, go. I mean, the world of golf clubs needs to change away from the egotastic, male-dominated issues that it has, and clubs like this can definitely start to help so many more of you. And I've got a chipR and it's really helped me. So basically it is a 9-iron-ish loft. It's the length of a 35-inch length putter and the swing weight feeling of a wedge. And the thing what I like about this one, similar to the one I game, is that it looks more like a regular club. Sometimes chipRs can look like really ugly, Now this is replacing their chipO, which has been out for years. This isn't new for Ping, but it is new for Ping as in it's been brought up to date. They're gonna try and get it more to the forefront so you guys and girls see it a bit more. And I think it's a great time. I just think we're at a time now, I really am, where we just need to keep stamping out the awful ego trips that we have in this like playground bullying game. Like, it's boys club awful, isn't it, sometimes? Like, I've got a chipR and you read some of the comments, it's 99% like, wow, that's great, that really empowers me to get one, but you still get that percent of idiot like, oh, you got a chipR, you're a pro. Well, if I chip the ball closer to the hole, then I can play more like a pro, can't I? And that's the same for you. So where can we use this? We're just off the green, a fringe. It's as good as a putt, but it's quite dewy, and you might not be good at judging this kind of stuff. And this is very much where I will use my chipR, because I can basically use my putting stance. So the way chipRs are made, see how upright it is. This is the thing which we'll come to when people say, oh, why don't you just use an 8 or 9 iron? You can use an 8 or 9 iron, but there are some advantages to this over the 8 and 9 iron. And it's also subject to how many clubs you have in your bag, as in, I wasn't taking a club out to put my chipR in, and that's a question you might want to ask yourself, like, what are you sacrificing to gain always in your golf bag? But we'll talk about that. So I'm going to use, I've got my putting grip here, so reverse overlap grip, basically, first finger. So whatever your putting grip is, that's what I'm using, I would advise using for many of these shots. And then I've got my hands very upright like a putter, because it's basically the lie angle closer to most putters. I've got the ball pretty central, handle level with the ball, so not much handle lean. I'm literally looking at the grass like I would with a putt, so I'm tracking my line with my eyes. And then I'm hitting it like I feel is a long putt. That one's too hard. And this is one of the things you're going to have to do when you get a club like this. Down and down, or up and up, no down, is that you're going to have to learn how to play it, because it will feel different. Like, I've been traveling a bit recently, I haven't played my chipR for a while, so again, like, that shot's quite a good example of me not having enough time with my one, or certainly this new one, to know the landing spots, to know the run outs, and to see and feel the pace. So like the second time around, instantly the pace is loads better. So what are we getting with the chipR? We're getting Hydro Pearl finish. So they put the finish that you see across all their clubs, because they're trying to keep the spin rate as constant as they can from the different lies. We're getting their Micro Max, I think that's called, grooves, or it'll come up what they're called, there's their words. So again, they're trying to keep spin constant with a different array of shots that you're going to play it from. So I've played it from the fringe, we'll play one from the rough in a second. And you can see my ball and the face look is dewy today. It's the UK in early morning, and you can see dew, you can see footprints on the green and stuff. It's the by halfway round this round, that dew would have gone and everything will be drier. So even in one round, I'm playing across different lies, and they're trying to just try and keep that spin as constant as you get across different lies. Obviously they ain't going to win, but they can keep it as constant maybe as they can. Now, when they were testing this club, their study showed something like 80% of their test group, don't quote me on those numbers, but it was a high percentage, basically chip better with the chipper over regular clubs. And one of the things we see from things like shot scope data is that people use basically a lot of lofted clubs. So what's interesting in the shot scope data is the worse the handicap is, the more they use a more lofted club around the greens. And there's this is a pattern. Obviously there's always outliers, so if you're someone watching this who's just great with your lob wedge, don't think I'm trying to change you, just keep being great. I always think that in all tips and lessons, if you're great at something, just keep being great at it. Great's a tick box, move on to the next thing you're not great at. Where with lower handicappers, what you found is that people use more of an array of lofts from different situations. I think that's quite telling, isn't it? So they certainly found improvements with the chipper over the standard way of playing shots. So they saw it in dispersion, basically. People were much tighter with their dispersion. So this is semi-rough, more green to clear, or rough and fringe to clear, I mean. Again, I'm just seeing that as a putt, and I caught that okay. That's gone really close. That landed just on the fringe. And there's the thing, it's the room for error when you're upright like this using putting actions. Basically your club is just kind of going like this. So even when you hit one slightly average, the result's fantastic. So I think this is an interesting one. Look, we're now coming over the bunker. We're in a similar region to where we were, and this is now where lots of people would feel like your chipper's now a wasted club, and it absolutely could be. I probably wouldn't play my chipper from here, but if I was struggling with my chipping, if I was someone who was thinking I might hit it in there, and I'm not anymore, luckily, with whatever wedge I use, so I would use the best club for the situation. But if I was worried of hitting it in there, this is where the chipper, so semi-rough lie, might come into effect. Now what I can do with this one, and I can actually do it with mine, which we'll talk about, you know, one of the things I wasn't that excited by when I saw this was the sole just isn't that thick. If I show you mine, so this is my Cleveland one that I use, you can see the soles are not really the same. Look, mine's got what we call a smart sole, so much chunkier. So I wanted a bigger sole on this for more golfers because I love the security this gives as it brushes across the ground. But what this does more, and this is the point with all golf equipment where you win in some departments, the smart sole, you lose in others. Now I feel I can actually open this one up a little bit. So I've now got a little bit of loft twisted on this club because I'm slightly below going up, so I do want a little bit of stop. Pretty duffy strike. It has done pretty good for a very average strike. Like, it feels like cheating, a chipper, and that's the thing. When I got my chipper, it just felt like I'd found a cheat. I want another go at that. So just to give you how I'm playing that square on there, so I bring it close, I'm literally just doing that with the handle now rather than kind of here, level to even back, just adding a fraction of loft. And this sole not being as chunky is allowing me to do that. And this is what you find with people who have chippers, is they get really good with them. Better strike like that's going to go in. Oh. Like what they can do with it is just like a joke. Let's show you what I mean. All right, 100 yards out. So you stand upright. So you're basically just playing what feels like a big chip. And you just basically, it's like, I always find the 100-yard out shot is a joke. Like, because you are upright, so not out here, it feels so DeChambeau straight, like you're amazed at how, I mean, they just arrow. Judging the distance, something to learn, but they arrow. 50 yards out. So again, it's upright, I'm using proper grip now. You see how upright I'm standing, and it's just like a big putt. Obviously I've got nothing in front of me. I've got green, I can run it up. Oh my word. I'll show you that one. That's that's a joke. 25 yards out now. Again, same conundrum of all the other shots. So you do need that bit of green to work with. Sit down a little. I mean, let's show you those three. This is why it feels like it's a cheating stick. So 100 yards out, what's that? 15, 20 foot. That is the 50 yards out shot. And that is the 20 yard shot. I mean, I'm taking all of them every time. Again, remember, that doesn't mean I'm going to play this club from every position. If I was wobbly, I absolutely would. It's an option that it gives me when I'm feeling like the lie isn't great. You know, I've played this off sand in Dubai, off my Cleveland one, from 50 yards out. A shot, you know, that you just would never get close to the hole, and I was able just to like chip it forwards. It was ridiculous. So let's show you the advantage of this over regular chipping, and obviously the disadvantages. So let's move it to extremes, and obviously as you come down in clubs you're going to find that they get closer and closer. So what I mean by that is we've got my most lofted v my chipper. So obviously if you went a 7-iron v the chipper or 9-iron v chipper, it's going to be much closer. So I'm doing this just to illustrate the issues, or not. So lob wedge to chipper is going to be there and there in lie. Now if you take this to extremes, the more I move the club down to the ground, so more of an angle out from the head, the more that face is going to rotate, have to rotate to hit a straight shot. So we're getting big amounts of rotation. The more I get upright, the face actually staying longer, straighter for longer, which is why like on the 100-yard shot, standing upright, you just don't feel like you're going to hit it very far offline. There is rotation, there always is, but it just feels so much less than a lofted wedge where you're standing further away. So that's the one point. The second point is by standing quite upright with the chipper compared to a lob wedge, people do start to feel like they can start brushing the ground. They get a very putter-like stroke, where if you get them set away like you do say with a lob wedge, now we do start to see a little bit more wrist actions, and this is where they maybe get a little out of sync when the leading edge gets in, or they hit the ground first and duff it, where again the more upright action feels much more like you're just never going to take a divot. Now the next one, if I use my lob wedge here, and remember I'm taking it to extremes just to illustrate a point, I'm not saying that these are almost comparable clubs, like I feel like I can hit a decent shot with my lob wedge, but that's landing halfway up to the flag. So I am trying to find a landing spot somewhere up by the flag, and if I hit a slightly better strike, let's go for a nippier one. So that's landing basically up by the flag, and they're not bad shots. Now if I use my chipper, or the ping chipper, landing point now is just in front of me, so I've got my putter grip again because I'm a bit closer, and I'm just literally landing it 3 paces in front of me. And again, look how much straighter it goes, because it does just feel so comfortable from here. So think about that like this. If I want to drop one of these 2 balls on a landing point, the closer I am to it, the easier it is. The further away I get from it, the harder it is. So by having landing points that little bit closer to me, like the chipper allows, maybe I'll hit those landing points a little bit more often. If they are well chosen landing points, then I'm going to have a very good consistency of distance. So that's where, even with a lob wedge from me, you get me further away from where I want the ball to land. Yeah, I'm going to have a variable landing pattern and a much higher variable in spin, launches, which again will spread my dispersion. Where a chipper is going to have pretty much the same spin each time, because it's so much less of an oblique hit. And what you might find is a tighter dispersion might allow you just to up and down a few more times. So who should put the chipper in the bag? Well, for me, I had a club, I only carry 13, so putting a chipper in was a no-brainer. It's another club I can chip out of the trees with. If I'm feeling a bit dodgy with a chip, if I hit a few bad chips in around, I'm just going to go to my chipper. So if I wanted a chipR, ping is your jam, yeah, put it in. If you are struggling with chipping and you just keep banging your head against the wall, get this soul, get this lie involved, get this shape involved. Like, stop ego suffering. You don't need to improve that part of your game if you can find a club that does it for you. You just don't need to. Things I like about this one, I do like the shape. I like the fact that it basically looks like an iron. It's going to sit in people's bags and be that little bit hidden if the ego problem is an issue. And the fact that it blends more with an iron set makes it more gameable. Like, some of the chippers out there are just so ugly that you like pick it up and it's such a change from what you're used to seeing from your iron set that I get that's hard. I like the little white line up line as well at the bottom on that, like with all pink, just helps line it up. Love it. Game changer. Will it be an ego changer? Well, that's a bigger ask, but I know so many people who should put this in the bag. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments, would you use it or not? Post in those comments down below what you think of chippers. You know, you just don't want to do it. You've been thinking about it, let me know. So many of you could work this into your bags, I think, and lower scores. Thanks for watching.